I'm Kim Anderson with Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service, Oklahoma State University. I've been involved in wheat marketing since 1982, and I've coordinated the grain grading school since 1984. And I've learned that the only fair way to buy wheat is to grade it accurately. Research shows that if wheat is not graded accurately, the tendency is to pay producers that deliver a poor quality load more than that wheat is worth, and to pay producers that deliver a high quality load less than that wheat is worth. The only fair way to buy wheat is to grade it accurately. Now let's look at the steps of the grading process. That first step is when that truck pulls up on the scales and you're pulling a sample. You want to get a physical sample of wheat out of that truck that's a representative of that load, and you want to visually inspect that wheat to see if there's any irregularities. Once that sample gets inside the grading station, you want to visually check that sample for irregularities. You want to determine the moisture, and then you want to weigh out a work sample. You'll remove dockage with an approved dockage machine. You'll weigh the dockage and calculate the percentage. If you're using an MCI kicker, you'll weigh and calculate the percentage of shrunken and broken. You'll take the clean sample and check it for odor. Then you're going to determine test weight. If you use the MCI, you'll want to add that shrunken and broken back in before you determine test weight. Otherwise, you'll overestimate the test weight. You want to determine shrunken and broken if you use a Carter Day or hand pans. If you use the MCI, you want to just take the slotted sieve and remove that shrunken and broken before you weigh out a 30-gram sample for picking foreign material and weigh out a 15-gram sample for picking damage. Now, sampling the truck, you need good quality equipment and trained personnel. The only fair way to buy wheat is to grade it accurately, and the only way to get an accurate grade of that load is to get a representative sample. You may be using a pneumatic truck probe, or you may be using hand probes. You want to make sure you use them properly and with trained personnel. If you're using the hand probe, you want to insert it at about a 10-degree angle. You want the gates closed. You want the gates on the upper portion of that angle going down. Once you want to make sure it gets all the way to the bottom before you open the gates. You want to probe several times to get a representative sample of that load. Once you get that into the grading station, you want to determine the moisture. You'll have a moisture tester. You can get GAC 2100 for around $4,000. You can get a 2500 that's more modern, got a digital screen for about $4,500. Or if you want a machine that'll do just about everything you want to do in a lab, get a Dickie John InstaLab 700. It's going to cost you about $22,000. Once you've got the moisture, you want to weigh out a work sample, about 1,025 grams or 2.3 pounds. Now, I want to make this point that you're using 2.3 pounds to determine the value of a 60,000-pound semi-load of wheat, or you're using 1,025 grams of wheat to determine a 27.2 million gram load of wheat. That's how important it is to get a representative sample when you're getting it out of the truck and when you're getting the work sample. So you'll weigh out that work sample. If you use the scales, you may want to set the memories, because this scale will calculate the percentage of dockage and the FM and damage when you pick that. You want to remove the dockage. You want to use a approved machine. The Carter Day dockage tester is the only machine used by Federal Grain Inspection Service and official testers. It's going to cost you about $14,000. The wheat sieves around another $1,500, so that you got about $15,500 tied up in a Carter Day. An alternate is the MCI kicker. You can either get a 3 or 4 screen dockage tester. 4 screen is going to cost you around $7,900. The sieves $420. You can get a 3 screen that's going to cost you around $7,200. An alternate method used by a few elevators is hand sieves. They're going to cost you about $350. You'll want a slotted sieve for determine the shrunken and broken, and you'll need that slotted sieve if you've got the Carter Day to calculate the shrunken and brokens. Research has shown that hand sieves will not remove as much Dockage as the Carter Day or the MCI, and that over time, the Dockage that you're paying wheat price for because you didn't get it out with the hand sieves will more than pay for the kicker or the Carter Day. You get the Dockage out, you weigh it out, you calculate the percentage. Then you want to check that sample for odor. You want to check it after you've removed the Dockage. That'll get the fines and stuff out of it and kind of save your sinuses and allow you to continue to check odor throughout the day without a sinus headache. You want to determine test weight. Again, you want good quality equipment. A fill hopper and stand and cup's going to cost you about $650 to $750. You want to use a good scale, test weight scale. A 900 HE is going to cost you about $1,800. This scale will automatically calculate your percentages for you. Also will allow you to connect directly to a computer to download that information. You check that, you run it through that fill hopper and cup, use the striker, 3 zigzags across the top, striker straight up and down, then you pour it in the test weight scale and determine the test weight. After you do the test weight, you want to weigh out about 250 grams for determining shrunken and broken. You want to use a 0.64 by 3/8 slotted sieve, 20 revolutions at most elevators. If you're using the MCI kicker, you'll just want to pour a sample in there and get the shrunken and broken out of it to calculate to pull your sample. For foreign material, you want about a 30-gram sample. After you get that sample, you want to hand pick the non-wheat materials out of here. You got a little sorghum, you got weed seeds, you got looks like some rye in here. And so anything that's not wheat, you'll pull that out and weigh that out and calculate your percentage foreign material. You'll want to pull out a 15-gram sample to pick for damage. You get that out, you pick out the damaged kernels, and you've got some sprout damage here. You got some heat damage, black tip fungus, some germ damage in there. So any damaged kernel, you'll pull out and weigh out and calculate your percentage damage. Also, in grading, if you have heat damage, you need to count those separately so that you can have the percent heat damage kernels. Once you get measured all the characteristics, test weight, damaged kernels, foreign material, shrunken and broken, total defects, you'll want to determine the grade. The Federal Grain Inspection Service publishes the grades and grade requirements for wheat. You'll use this where we will do another video that directly tells you how to assign a grade. So we'll go through this more in detail in another video. The only fair way to buy wheat is to grade it accurately. And to grade wheat accurately, you've got to have trained personnel, and you've got to have high quality equipment and a well set up grading area. You want to be professional. If you've got good equipment, trained personnel, and with professional attitude, producers rarely will complain about the grade of their wheat.